More leads sound like a win until your intake team is drowning in low quality cases and your case value starts quietly dropping. Right now, some personal injury firms are chasing lead volume so hard that it's actually hurting them, and most owners don't notice until the numbers are already down. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where that trade-off breaks down and what to track instead. I'm Jesse Stewart, a paralegal and SEO specialist. I help personal injury firms generate more retained cases using retained client SEO without PPC dependency. If you appreciate this type of content, please gently tap that like button and let's dive into today's video. First, lead volume trap. A lot of firms treat lead count like it's a whole scoreboard. More form fills, more calls, more chats, all of it gets reported as growth. And on the surface, that makes sense. More leads should mean more clients. But volume and quality are two completely different things, and chasing one can quietly work against the other. A campaign that's optimized purely to generate the most leads possible will often pull in broader, low intent traffic just to hit that number, and those are exactly the leads that clog up intake without ever turning into a signed case. Here's why this happens. Broad keywords and wide net ad targeting are the fastest way to inflate a lead count. Someone searching car accident lawyer without a city, or someone just curious about other legal options after a fender bender, will fill out a form just as easily as someone with a real high value case. From a reporting standpoint, both of these count as one lead, but they're not close to the same thing for your firm. And if your marketing is judged only on total lead count, there's no incentive to tell the difference. Next is why more leads doesn't automatically mean more revenue, and there's a real pattern here worth walking through. Picture a personal injury firm that increases its marketing budget by 30% a year over year. The partners are watching impressions, clicks, and call volume closely, and all three keep climbing. But their signed case numbers stay completely flat. No one on the team is reviewing call recordings or actually intake outcomes. They're just watching the dashboard. That's a common pattern across the industry because marketing agencies tend to report success based on leads generated, while firm owners actually care about signed, fee-generating cases. Those are not the same measurement. And when a firm only tracks the first one, growth on paper can hide stagnation in reality. Missed and mishandled calls make this worse. A firm receiving 300 inbound calls a month might miss 60 of them and never call 40 of those back at all. For a personal injury practice, that gap alone can represent tens of thousands of dollars in lost monthly revenue, because a large share of those missed calls come from mobile users who will never leave a voicemail. If your team assumes no voicemail means no real lead, that assumption gets expensive pretty fast. So here's the metric that actually matters: cost per retained case, not cost per lead. Say a paid search campaign generates 100 leads at $50 a piece. That's $5,000 in ad spend. If only one of those leads actually signs a retainer, your real cost per signed case is the full $5,000, even though your cost per lead looks cheap on paper. This is the number that tells you what you're actually paying to add one more client. And it's also where lead source matters enormously. Exclusive Google Ads leads typically take somewhere between 4 and 10 leads to sign one case. Shared Google Ad leads, where multiple firms are calling the same prospect, can take 13 to 33 leads for that same one signed case. And leads from social media can run anywhere from 33 to over 100 before you get a single signed client. Same word lead, widely different economics depending on where it came from. This is why the raw lead count can be actively misleading. A channel that produces a lot of cheap, low intent leads can look like your best performing source at the top of the funnel, while quietly being your most expensive source once you calculate it all the way through to a signed case. Most firms never make that calculation because it means connecting your ad spend to your call tracking to your intake outcomes to your signed retainers. That's more work than reading a lead count report, but it's the only version of the number that's actually true. Next up, what should you be tracking instead of this total leads? 3 things. First, cost per signed case, calculated by channel, not blended together into one average that hides the differences. Second, your lead to consultation rate, so you can see how much your volume is even reaching a real conversation. And third, your consultation to sign retainer rate, so you know whether the leakage is happening in marketing or happening in your intake room. Once you're tracking those 3 side by side with your raw lead count, you know within a quarter or 2 whether more leads is actually building your firm or just building an agency case study. You don't need new software to start this. Most CRMs can already tag a lead by source and flag whether it eventually converted to a signed case. What's usually missing is someone actually pulling the report every month and asking the follow-up question. Of everyone we spoke with, how many became clients? And what did each one really cost us? By source. That single habit done consistently tells you more about your marketing than a year of lead count reports ever could. So let's get into fixing the intake bottleneck, because this is where a lot of real leakage happens once lead volume climbs. Speed to contact is the single best level here. Firms that respond to a new lead within 5 minutes convert at dramatically higher rates than firms that wait 30 minutes. And some industry research puts that gap at somewhere between 21 times and 300% higher conversion, depending on one study and the lead source. Either way, the direction is the same. A fast callback wins cases that a slow callback loses to a competitor before your intake team even gets a chance to make their pitch. Next lever is systematic follow-up. Most leads don't convert on the first call, and firms without a secured follow-up sequence can leave somewhere between 30 and 50% of potential cases sitting on the table, simply because nobody called back a second or third time. A follow-up cadence of calls, texts, and emails spread across 7 to 14 days recovers a meaningful share of that lost gap, and it costs almost nothing beyond a documented process and some discipline from your team. Third piece is qualification quality. Intake staff should know, in plain terms, what a good case looks like for your firm, not just whether someone filled out a form. That means training around real case criteria: injury severity, liability clarity, insurance coverage, and timeline. Firms with a structured criteria-based intake process convert meaningfully more leads into signed cases than firms rely on basic, unscripted phone handling. Without that structure, every lead gets treated the same regardless of quality, and a spike in volume just means a spike in wasted time with your staff, not a spike in signed cases. To be clear, none of this is an argument against generating leads. It's an argument against measuring success by lead count alone. A firm with a smaller, well-qualified lead flow, a fast response time, and a disciplined intake process will consistently out-earn a firm chasing raw volume, because every hour of staff time is going toward cases that are actually worth signing. The goal isn't fewer leads, it's making sure the leads you are already paying for are being handled in a way that protects their lead volume, their lead value, instead of burying it under a pile of low quality volume. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. And if you found this content useful, share the channel with a personal injury attorney or a law firm that may benefit from this video. They will thank you for it. We'll see you in the next video.